let's look at the differences between me and Kilmar. For one, I came to the country legally as an exchange student. I then became a foreign student and went to Dartmouth.
And now that we have leadership that is sort of indiscriminately determining who belongs and who doesn't.
Well, I think it's safe to say Democrats are now on board with the Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation. You even have a member of Congress wanting to impeach Trump over Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And we also have Michelle Obama talking about deportations and no due process. Now, we're going to dig into all of the new talking points, but this week seems like the week of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. All of a sudden, we have news outlets, Democrats, all across the board. Everyone is talking about this man. Let's dig into it.
You were born in India, and you're here legally. I want you here. I support your right to free speech. But if we start throwing people like you out of the country with the Democratic president, like that's not right either, and I don't want that. And I want to make sure that people have access to due process. So they've got to show that Kilmar is a dangerous criminal, which I don't think they can do because otherwise they would have already done it. Otherwise, we need to bring this guy home. That's what the Supreme Court has ruled. And every day that Trump is not listening to the Supreme Court, we're in the middle of a constitutional crisis.
Now, real quick, I'm not going to keep cutting this clip off. I promise the response is hilarious. What you need to understand is Democrats right now are trying to compare Kilmar Abrego Garcia to legal immigrants. Like, hey, you're an immigrant. What happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia? That could happen to you, right?
Well, let's look at the differences between me and Kilmar. For one, I came to the country legally as an exchange student. I then became a foreign student and went to Dartmouth. Then I went through a process of getting a green card legally to work. I went through 5 years of naturalization. So I came to the country in 1978. I only became a citizen in 1991. This guy, Kilmar, came to the country illegally. So start right there. This was a guy who sneaked into the country in violation of law. That alone makes him a criminal. Now, the question is, what do we do about people like Kilmar? The accomplishment, Pierre, as you noted, Trump has sealed the borders, so it's difficult for new Kilmars to sneak across. But we still have millions of people who are flagrantly and deliberately allowed in by Biden, and just millions of illegals in the country.
All right, I am really curious how you guys all feel about this. Right now, we are seeing Democrats push this talking point more and more, comparing illegal immigrants to legal immigrants on the basis of, hey, since Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported, you could get deported also.
And we know that those decisions aren't being made with courts and with due process and, that it's being made like this cop that pulled my brother over when he was 12. You don't look like somebody that belongs. I can determine just by looking at you that you're a good person or you're not a good person.
Now, if you're unaware, Michelle Obama is under a lot of heat right now, especially when talking about anything deportations because of this.
Did you know that according to the ACLU and Migration Policy Institute, approximately 75% of deportations under the Obama administration, 2009-2017, were non-judicial removals, meaning they bypassed immigration court hearings and judicial oversight. In fiscal year 2012 alone, 313,000 non-judicial removals occurred, compared to only 1,400 in 1995. These removals often involved expedited removal or administrative removal, where Department of Homeland Security agents, such as Border Patrol or ICE officers, made decisions without involving an immigration judge. Where was all the hysteria about due process back then? And if Obama can do it, why not Trump? I'm Joseph Bovino, U.S. immigration and business attorney based in Miami and serving clients worldwide who love my country and respect its immigration laws. Follow for more.
Now, if you've been following this channel, you know we've been talking about Kerry Kennedy down in El Salvador, and you know absolutely nobody was even covering her story. Well, finally, CNN is willing to talk about Kerry Kennedy. However, it looks like they're more interested in her brother, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., instead of her failed trip down in El Salvador, where the prison systems will not allow her to go visit Kilmar Abrego Garcia or any other prisoners.
Carrie, when you and I spoke recently, we talked about your brother, who you said not only did you love him, but you liked him. But obviously you and he disagree with great vehemence right now on politics and health issues. And I'm curious, I don't know if you had a chance to see this, because I know that you have been on the ground here fighting in El Salvador. But John Oliver gave a 35-minute segment last night. 35 minutes he dedicated to your brother's actions as HHS secretary, and it has gone viral. I wanted to play for you just a clip.
RFK needs to go, and by impeachment if necessary. Too much damage has already been done. This is a man who is clearly in way over his worm-riddled head. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know who he's fired. He doesn't even know how many diabetic people there are in China. And if that wasn't bad enough, he's currently spreading dangerous nonsense and gutting life-saving research.
And obviously he's putting his comedian spin on it, Carrie. But do you agree fundamentally with the point that he's making?
Well, I think that, as I say, I love Bobby and I find him incredibly charismatic. But I have said, and my other family members have been super clear about this, that we disagree again and again and again on the things that he said. That one shouldn't get vaccinated. Of course you should get vaccinated. That's the only way to save you, your children, our families, and our communities, our country, and our world. That he said that people are transgender because of pollutants in the water, meaning that anybody who's transgender is somehow inherently sick. That HIV does not cause AIDS. This is insanity. Just look at the science. So I think this goes on and on and on. I love my brother. I think he's dead wrong about people with autism, which anybody who knows who has friends, family, or has met people with autism. So I think he is not an appropriate HHS secretary.
All right. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are not even aware there is a representative who wants to impeach Donald Trump off of the basis of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and how Donald Trump, he's not following the Supreme Court. Now, we might have some answers as to what exactly is going on based off of some investigations that went down, but first, let's watch this clip of what he has to say.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmar Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment.
All right, I'm just going to be honest here. When it comes to this campaign, I do find it rather interesting that a lot of other Democrats don't seem to be so on board with the impeachment process this time. However, when I went to go do some research, because according to the internet, a lot of people are saying Shri is only doing this to raise money. When you look up Shri and money, he does tend to spend a lot of money. And a lot of people are also pointing out, I mean, the fact that you bought a billboard, this almost comes off as a fundraising ad or an advertisement in general. It's not me saying it, it's just what I'm trying to let you guys know in full context. This is what a lot of people on the internet are saying. I really do think Shri wants to impeach Trump, and I really do think he's upset with Donald Trump over the Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation, and I will leave it at that. Now look, what you need to understand, this movement is even extending beyond just the media or social media influencers who are left-leaning. A lot of people are really harping on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia trend, especially when it comes to deportations.
And there's some new reporting that reveals hundreds of lawyers and staff members are now leaving the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division over Trump's planned changes to the agency's mission. Nearly half of the division's lawyers have left in recent weeks, and the administration has reopened its deferred resignation program, allowing employees to resign but continue to be paid out for a period of time. More than 100 lawyers are expected to take the offer, which expires this coming Monday. Those inside the office say they're leaving over leadership's directive to drop the division's traditional work, which includes protecting minority communities, fighting housing discrimination, and protecting the right to vote. So, Mr. Mayor, certainly noble decisions there, but one wonders about the future of this department. So let's get your thoughts on that, but also even more broadly, how that's emblematic of what the administration is doing.
Is an assault on the last 70 years. From Brown v. Board all the way forward, an absolute assault. Canceling agencies, MBDA, the Department of Education, gutting the Civil Rights Division, the EEOC. It is an assault on what is necessary for the American future. What I see as I look at the first 100 days, is 100 days of trying to convince the American people that the American future is a replay of the American past.
There's no way in hell that I'm giving this administration one more dollar to violate our rights and criminalize our communities. And further, Noem must resign from her position as Secretary of Homeland Security. Mr. Chair, I ask unanimous consent to include in the record a letter demanding Noem's resignation as the Secretary of Homeland Security.
So ordered, and I believe the gentlelady's time has expired.
It is now. Thank you. With that, I yield back.
Okay.
All right, so if you are still watching this video, I really do appreciate it. Again, this has really become the week of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, I had also suggested one of the biggest reasons why Democrats are pushing so hard on these topics is because when you do look at the polls and the numbers, especially when it comes to the economy and other numbers with Donald Trump, they are lower. So I am thinking Democrats are maybe trying to make a push on this one specific topic where other Americans might agree with Democrats and lower these numbers as well. Because as Donald Trump's numbers lower, so does the GOP's as well. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.